Hello.
My wife thought I'd cry when I found out she was choking on someone else's cock. Instead, I took everything from her and made sure the whole damn town watched her fall. I never liked bars. Too loud. Too many people trying too hard to be interesting. I preferred the sound of a welding torch, or the quiet rhythm of my boots on concrete. But Kimberly insisted. Said it'd be fun to meet up with some of her work friends. I didn't argue. Lately, arguing felt like tossing stones into the ocean, loud for a second, then swallowed whole. It was a Friday night. The bar was packed, all neon signs and sticky floors, filled with people laughing too loud at things that weren't funny. I sat at the end of a booth with a drink I hadn't touched. I'm not a drinker, never have been. My dad was. That's why I'm not. Kimberly was across the room, closer to the bar, in a tight dress she never wore around me anymore. One of those cuts that knew exactly where to stop, like a goddamn GPS was built into the hem. Her hair was curled, I hadn't seen her curl it in 6 months. She was laughing. Too hard. At a man I didn't recognize. He was tall, flashy, the type who drinks expensive vodka and thinks cufflinks make him profound. His arm was slung along the back of her chair. She didn't move it. Didn't flinch. Hell, she leaned in closer. Whispered something into his ear. I couldn't hear it, but I saw it. The way her lips brushed against his skin like she didn't have a husband sitting 20 feet away watching the whole damn performance. I tried to tell myself it was harmless. She's social. She's always been social. She flirts with everyone, right? It's part of her personality. I told myself this like a prayer, over and over, while that little knot in my gut twisted tighter. She used to smile at me like that. That laugh she gave him? I hadn't heard it in months. Not from her. And even when I did, lately, it felt rehearsed. Mechanical. Like a smile she was practicing for someone else. My friend Eric nudged me. He came with me tonight, said I shouldn't sit through another company night alone. His eyes tracked mine, landed on Kimberly and the guy with the tailored beard and overconfident grin. That's not a great look, man, he said, his voice low, cautious. No shit. But I didn't respond. What could I say? That my wife, the woman I paid to put through grad school, the one I built a house for with my own 2 hands, was over there acting like I didn't exist? Every time she leaned in, my stomach churned like bad diesel in a frozen tank. The worst part? She never once looked my way. Not even a glance. Like I wasn't there. Like I was a ghost in a room full of strangers, watching a life I used to live continue without me. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up. Walked across the bar like I wasn't shaking inside. Like I wasn't about to throw up everything I'd swallowed for the past 6 months, every doubt, every strange phone call, every "I'm working late tonight" that didn't quite sit right. Kimberly, I said, my voice steady, even though my jaw was tight enough to bend steel. She looked up like I'd interrupted something sacred. A flicker of annoyance crossed her face before she pasted on that fake smile. The one I'd started to recognize more and more lately. Oh, hey babe, she said like I was some guy who dropped her Uber Eats. You remember Malik, right? Malik. No, I didn't remember Malik. And judging by the smug way he grinned at me, I didn't want to. Can I talk to you for a second? I asked. She hesitated. Looked at him like she needed permission. That was new. Then turned back to me. Can it wait? We're just. No, I said, cutting her off. It can't. That pause? That tension? You could have sliced it with a credit card. She stood, reluctantly, muttering something to Malik, and followed me toward the back hallway near the restrooms. The crowd blurred around us, noise and laughter, completely detached from the moment my marriage started to crack like glass under pressure. What is it, Nathan? She asked, arms crossed, defensive like I was the one cheating. I didn't answer her question. I asked one of my own. What the hell are you doing? Her eyes rolled. That was the moment I felt something inside me start to rot. "Oh come on," she said, "I'm just having fun. It's not a big deal." "Not a big deal?" I hissed, keeping my voice low. "You're sitting on another man's ego like I'm not even here. You laughed at every word like he's the first man to ever speak. You let him put his hand on your back. You whispered in his ear. That's not just fun, Kimberly. That's making a goddamn fool out of me." She looked past me, toward the bar, as if hoping Malik was watching. Then turned back and said, "You're overreacting." And just like that, she turned to leave. Like she'd won. Like I was a speed bump on the way to her next dopamine hit. "If you're gonna act like this," she said over her shoulder, "maybe you should go home." I stood there in that hallway with a fist in my chest, watching her walk back to Malik. She didn't even look back. I didn't follow. I left. Didn't say a word. Didn't finish my drink. Just walked to the truck, numb from head to toe. The kind of numb that comes right before the anger. That thick, hot kind of anger that fills your lungs like smoke and settles into your bones. My phone buzzed before I turned the ignition. Her name on the screen. One message. "I love you. Are you okay?" I stared at it. Laughed out loud. A bitter sound that tasted like blood. Then I hit end call before the first ring finished. I didn't trust myself to speak. Because if I opened my mouth right then, it wouldn't be words that came out. It would have been screams. I didn't sleep that night. Just laid there in the dark, staring at the ceiling fan as it creaked in slow circles. The bedroom smelled like her perfume, the same scent she wore to that bar, the one that lingered even when she wasn't in the room. I used to love that smell. Now it made me nauseous. She came home late. I heard the door unlock around 2:40 a.m., the soft click of her heels on the hardwood, the rustle of her keys being dropped on the entry table like nothing had happened. She didn't even peek in to check if I was awake. Just slipped into the guest bathroom, turned the shower on low like I wouldn't hear it. Like I didn't notice how long she stayed in there. Like I didn't notice her panties were missing from the laundry pile the next morning. The next few days were a blur of polite smiles and dead air. Kimberly had this brightness to her, always had. The kind of woman who walked into a room and made heads turn, not because she was the most beautiful, but because she knew she had control. She could light up any room. I used to think that glow was mine, now I knew it wasn't. We'd sit at the table in the mornings, her drinking overpriced lattes with almond milk, scrolling her phone while I forced eggs down like drywall paste. She didn't look at me. Not really. Just kind of threw me, like I was an accessory to her kitchen. Like the only use I had was to keep the damn lights on. I tried to test her. Casual questions. "Where were you last night?" "Oh, I told you, the girls and I had dinner at the Clover Room." She didn't even blink. Didn't ask what I did. Didn't care. Her poker face was damn near professional. But I knew better. Something had changed. Something small, but undeniable, like when a picture frame is slightly crooked and you can't unsee it. One night, I walked into the kitchen to grab a beer and saw her texting, laughing at something on her screen. I stood there for a second too long. She looked up, startled. "You scared me," she said with a forced laugh. "Just texting Alyssa about her new job. She's a mess." I nodded. Said nothing. But I saw the name on the screen when she tilted it. It wasn't Alyssa. It was Malik. After that, I started noticing the little things. She'd get a text and tilt the screen away like she was shielding it from the sun. She started sleeping with her phone under her pillow. She changed her lock screen from a wedding photo of us to a quote, "Protect your peace." I didn't ask about it. I just started learning. Every kiss goodnight felt like a dare. Every "I love you" was a test I kept failing. One evening, we were driving home from her mom's birthday dinner. She was quiet the whole ride. Usually, she'd vent about something, traffic, her sister, the food, but this time she was just absent. I glanced over. She was staring out the window, smiling. Not just any smile, that one. The one she used to save for me. Like she'd remembered a joke he told her. Or a moment. A touch. A moan. That smile didn't belong to me anymore. I felt like I'd been robbed in my own damn car. The next morning, I opened our shared credit card statement. It wasn't nosiness. It was instinct. Kimberly's spending had changed. Uber rides at weird hours. Restaurant charges in neighborhoods she didn't frequent. Hotel room service. A lingerie charge from a store I'd never heard of, and we hadn't had sex in months. I highlighted everything. Took screenshots. Printed it all. Still didn't confront her. Not yet. You don't detonate a bomb while you're still standing next to it. That night, she leaned over and kissed my cheek while I was brushing my teeth. A soft, almost guilty kiss. "I'm lucky to have you," she whispered. And all I could think was, he probably came in your mouth yesterday. I nodded. Didn't say a word. Because by that point, the man I used to be, the one who would have fought for her, cried for her, forgiven her, was gone. Now it was just me. And I was building something. Not a plan. Not revenge. Something colder. A process. She left her laptop open. That's how it started. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't creeping around with a magnifying glass like some jealous husband who couldn't keep his emotions in check. I was cleaning the damn kitchen. Wiping down the counter when I noticed her laptop glowing on the island, one of those bright screens that burns through the corner of your eye even when you're trying to ignore it. It wasn't locked. She always used a password. But not that day. Curiosity didn't make me touch it. Instinct did. The same instinct that tells you not to walk into a burning building, unless, of course, your house is already on fire. It opened to Gmail. And her inbox was full. I clicked without thinking. Not even the usual hesitation. The messages were right there. Threads labeled Malik. Starred. Replied to. Frequent. The first email I opened was dated 3 weeks ago. The subject line read, "I can still taste you." My stomach turned before I even read the first line. I can't stop thinking about last night. Your smell. Your sounds. The way you said my name when you came. I swear I'm still high off it. No man should be allowed to taste heaven like that more than once in a lifetime. Attached to it? A photo of Kimberly, my wife, in our bathroom. Bent over the edge of the sink. Completely naked. The timestamp in the corner was from a Tuesday night when she told me she had cramps and was too tired to talk. I scrolled down. There was more. Another email thread titled, "For Your Flight," had a video. I shouldn't have clicked it. God help me, I shouldn't have. But I did. She was on her knees. In a hotel room I recognized, we'd stayed there on our anniversary once. Her face looked up at him, playful, eyes full of something I hadn't seen directed at me in months. She called him Daddy. He called her his sweet white slut. I paused the video when she gagged. Everything blurred. My vision tunneled. My jaw clenched so hard my molars ached. I don't remember how long I stood there, just staring at that frozen frame of her on her knees. Mouth open. Worshipping a man who had nothing to do with her life. Her marriage. Her home. I went back to the inbox. Dozens more. A flight confirmation to Chicago, the same weekend she told me she was visiting her sick cousin in Denver. Uber receipts from airport pickups. A lingerie order marked, gift wrapped, no invoice. But it wasn't just sex. That was bad enough, humiliating enough, but what burned deeper was the way they talked about me. She wrote. Nathan has no idea. He still thinks I'm some angel. I could fuck you in the living room and he'd probably bring me a blanket. He's so clueless. It's sad. Sweet, but pathetic. Malik responded. You gonna ride me on the floor next to the dumbass wedding portrait again? She replied. Yes. I'll make sure I'm wearing the necklace he gave me too. Let's make a memory. The world went quiet in that moment. Just white noise in my ears. This wasn't just cheating. It was a performance. A comedy show where I was the punchline, the idiot husband with calloused hands and blind love, financing her sex life with another man. She had betrayed me with her body, yes. But more than that, she enjoyed my humiliation. She celebrated it. They laughed about me. Mocked me. Used my home, my bed, my furniture, my goddamn toothbrush holder as a stage for their affair. I printed everything. Screenshotted every email. Every receipt. Every image. Put them all in a folder labeled "Filing for Clarity." Saved it to a thumb drive I kept in my toolbox, right next to my welding gloves and torch. I closed her laptop. Gently. Carefully. Like I hadn't just seen my life detonated frame by frame. She came home a few hours later. Told me she brought Thai food. I smiled. Told her thanks. She kissed my cheek and asked how my day was. I said, productive. And it was. Because that night, Nathan Miller stopped being the quiet, patient husband with a blindfold. That night, I became something else. A man with nothing left to lose. A man with a plan. By then, I had stopped asking questions. I didn't need her lies anymore. I had enough truth to build a case that would drown her. Every Wednesday night, like clockwork, Kimberly would dress up, not too fancy, just enough to say, "I want attention, but not from you." She'd slide into her jeans that looked painted on, the black heels she said hurt her feet when I asked her to wear them, and that red lipstick she used to save for our anniversaries. Said she was meeting the girls. Every week. Same time. Same excuse. The first time I followed her, I told myself I was just confirming what I already knew. But when I watched her car pull into the Blue Spruce Inn, and park behind the building like she was parking shame, I realized this wasn't confirmation. It was documentation. Malik's car was already there. A black Charger with rims that cost more than the mortgage payment. He was never subtle. Never smart. That worked in my favor. I parked down the street and waited. Waited while the lights in that third-floor corner room flicked on. Waited while the blinds shifted, not closed, not open, just suggestive. As if they wanted the possibility of being seen. As if the risk was part of the kink. I didn't go inside. I didn't storm in like a man with a bruised ego and a half-empty beer bottle. I waited. And I watched. 4 weeks. Every Wednesday. The same routine. Her car. His car. Room 312. 2 hours. Sometimes 3. Occasionally takeout would show up, but mostly it was just the two of them. Coming and going like this wasn't a crime scene with pillows. I started taking photos. Not for myself, I didn't need them to remember. I needed them for what came next. Photos of license plates. Of her entering the building. Of the time-stamped receipts when she told me she was at Melissa's house watching The Bachelor. Once, I saw them kiss in the parking lot before going in. Full, slow. Not the kind of kiss you give your dirty little secret. The kind you give someone when you've decided they're worth burning your old life for. I stood there in the dark and felt nothing. Not rage. Not sadness. Just confirmation. The pain was long gone. Burned out like a match that had already done its job. Now it was about building the blueprint. No emotion. No outbursts. Just brick by brick, I was constructing something she'd never recover from. I never confronted her. Because you don't warn the enemy before you drop the bomb. 1 week later she told me she was at her sister's. Said she was helping with the kids because her niece had a fever. That's why she left early, why she packed an overnight bag, why she'd be out of reach most of the night. I nodded. Said, okay. Kissed her on the forehead like I still believed in her. And then I watched her location move. Not to her sister's house. Not even the right side of town. She was at the Blue Spruce Inn again. Room 312. The same room. Same lies. Same routine. I waited 3 hours. Didn't call. Didn't text. Didn't pace or scream into a pillow. Instead, I opened my phone. Hit the FaceTime button. She answered on the third ring. The image was grainy at first, just her face, held too close to the camera, her hair messy like she'd been sweating. She tried to smile, but there was panic behind it. "Nathan?" she asked, voice high-pitched. "Everything okay?" I didn't say a word. Because behind her, a man walked by the bed. Malik. Naked. Broad-shouldered, confident, unfazed. Not a towel in sight. Not a care in the world. And swinging beneath him, a 12-inch dick, like a damn anchor attached to a man who knew he had wrecking ball privilege. He muttered, "Yo, who that?" Kimberly's smile snapped like a twig. She turned away from the camera so fast she nearly dropped the phone. I heard fumbling. Cussing. The rustle of sheets. A slam of the bathroom door. But the image had already burned into my brain. I could have thrown the phone. Could have screamed. Instead, I stared straight into the front-facing camera and said 4 words, calm, measured, final. "I see everything now." Then I ended the call. I didn't pace the living room or break a chair. I didn't cry. I stood up, grabbed the thumb drive I'd been filling for months, photos, emails, receipts, all neatly labeled, and slid it into a padded envelope. Labeled it. For later. Then I sat down. Logged into my financial accounts. And began restructuring the battlefield. Because this wasn't about heartbreak anymore. This was about taking everything she thought she'd keep and burying it next to the fantasy life she threw our marriage away for. About a week after the FaceTime call, Kimberly started acting gentle. That was her first mistake. She cooked breakfast. She smiled too much. She'd reach for my arm when we walked past each other in the hallway, like she was trying to remind me she was still soft, still sweet, still familiar. She wasn't. She was just trying to cover her tracks. I could see it in her eyes, the way a gambler stares at the cards, not the other player. She wasn't looking at me. She was measuring me. Calculating how much time she had before the bomb went off. 3 days later, she sat across from me at the kitchen table and said the words I'd been waiting on like a good whiskey aging in the dark. "I think, maybe we should get a divorce. I don't want a messy fight. No lawyers. No scandals. We can be adults about this." She looked almost fragile when she said it, like she thought I might lash out. Like she thought I hadn't already pre-written every move she was about to make. I nodded. Just nodded. Didn't ask questions. Didn't raise my voice. Didn't blink. Because I knew exactly why she didn't want lawyers or drama. She was terrified I had proof. Of the cheating. Of Malik. Of all of it. She was right. But she had no idea how long I'd been collecting it. That same night, she filed. Quietly. Slipped the papers onto the counter, smiling like a waitress bringing the check. No confrontation. No venom. Just civil tone, soft sighs, and a long monologue about how we both need to heal. But the real game was buried in the fine print. She was suing for the house. Not the bank account. Not the car. Not even alimony. The house. The one I built from scratch. With my own damn hands. She based her claim on the fact that she owned the land. It had been passed down from her family, a dusty, lopsided lot we got for cheap because nobody wanted it. I did the work. Paid for the permits. Laid the foundation. Hammered every nail, wired every light, installed every damn shingle. That house was mine. But she thought owning the dirt meant owning the structure. She claimed I had neglected the property. Said I caused her emotional distress by being cold and unaffectionate in the final months. That I refused intimacy. That I retreated emotionally and let the home fall into disrepair. I laughed when I read it. That quiet kind of laugh you only hear from men who've already won. Because what Kimberly never knew was that the house, the literal structure, was legally filed under my name. As a movable unit. That's right. My brother, James, owns a specialty logistics company. He moves houses. Big ones. On trailers. With police escorts and pilot cars. It's rare, but it's legal. And 6 months ago, after a suspicious little comment she made about, if we ever split, this land would be mine, I had paperwork redrawn. New foundation bolts. New transport license. The works. I was ready before she even packed her first overnight bag for Malik. The day her paperwork was filed, I made 2 calls. One to my brother. One to a private landowner 3 counties over. That weekend, I went camping. Kimberly went on a beach vacation with Malik to clear her head and move forward. She left with a smile, thinking she'd come back to her beautiful, stolen house and a final court win waiting for her. What she came back to was a concrete slab. Wires. Pipes. Bolts. Where the front porch had once been. A single folding chair and a cup of coffee, still warm. Her belongings. All of them were neatly packed into bins and left in a rusty metal shed at the edge of the lot. Locked. Dry. Not damaged. I'm not cruel. I'm just precise. When she pulled up, her jaw didn't drop. It collapsed. She ran to where the front door should have been. Walked in circles like a chicken looking for its head. Called the cops. The lawyer. Her mother. Malik. I watched from a car parked 2 streets away, drinking that same coffee, wondering if she'd scream or sob first. She did both. The new lawsuit came fast. Accusing me of theft. Of destruction. Of violating property law. But you can't steal what's yours. And you can't sue for what's been legally relocated. My paperwork? Impeccable. My brother's company? Certified and bonded. My permits? All city approved. The land? Still hers, but worthless now without the structure. She lost. Hard. Publicly. And then came the final play. My old buddy from high school, Tyler, made her a reasonable offer on the land. Told her he was going to build a yoga studio or some kind of healing center. She took it. She was desperate. Broke. Malik was figuring things out and needed space. Tyler bought the land. Held it for 2 days. And sold it back to me. At a discount. So now? The house I built is back in my name. The land she tried to leverage is mine again. And Kimberly? She's living in a rented condo above a nail salon with a cracked AC unit and no washer-dryer. Malik's gone. The lawsuit drained her. And I never said a word. Because some revenge doesn't need screaming or blood. Sometimes, you just take everything back. And leave them with nothing but dirt. Updated, since one of the characters in my last post passed away, spiritually, emotionally, and socially, I thought I'd share another story. You've earned it. Let me take you back a few months, right after the FaceTime incident and right before Kimberly's bright idea to upgrade husbands with Malik, third leg, Johnson. I had more than enough digital filth to build a damn gallery, emails, photos, videos, all time-stamped, location tagged, and ready for the courtroom, or the Coliseum, depending on how messy I wanted to get. I wasn't gonna use them yet. Not until the final blow. Not until the absolute point of no return. Then came Big Bob. Now, if you don't know Bob, first of all, you'd notice him before he noticed you. Guy's 6'5", 350 pounds, bald, tattooed, and sounds like he chews gravel for breakfast. We used to work the same job site years ago. Nickname Big Bob stuck not just 'cause of the size, but because the man had a big heart, big fists, and even bigger taste for payback. I hadn't even planned to show him the photos. But when he asked how I was holding up, I slipped. Showed him one. One was all it took. He leaned back in his lawn chair and said, "You want me to hold on to those for a bit? You know. So she doesn't accidentally delete them or try anything slick?" I raised an eyebrow. "Hold on to them?" He grinned. "Trust me." Now fast forward a few months. Kimberly's affair had long since turned public. Malik was playing house with her now, or trying to, while still figuring out how to keep his job after my evidence package blew up his HR file. But that didn't stop them from planning a big-ass wedding. Of course, they booked it on the same damn weekend Kimberly and I had gotten married 5 years earlier. Symbolic. Disrespectful. Stupid. I heard about it through mutuals. White dress. Outdoor venue. Dove release. The whole Pinterest board. Even had the nerve to invite some of my former friends, said it was about new beginnings. But while Kimberly was posting filtered ring pics and second chance at happiness captions, Big Bob was printing. And laminating. And distributing. 2 days before the wedding, Kimberly's quiet suburban neighborhood looked like a damn crime scene. Every telephone pole had 8.5 by 11-inch color photos, Kimberly, mouth full, eyes rolled back, wearing my necklace while doing the devil's acrobatics with Malik. Every windshield on the street got a copy tucked under the wiper. Her parents' entire cul-de-sac? Covered. They woke up to what neighbors called the morning of red-faced shame. And then? Oh, then came the dress. My old friend Marcus, also known as that one guy who somehow knows everyone, managed to sneak into Kimberly's bachelorette party. She didn't recognize him, she was too busy grinding on a rented male stripper while high off God knows what. Marcus filmed the whole thing. Shots. Pills. Laughter. Boobs flying out. Kimberly doing body shots off a stranger's stomach while yelling, "Malik's is bigger," loud enough to echo. Police came around 1:30 a.m. noise complaints. Marcus says one of the girls tried to climb onto the cop car like it was a parade float. Kimberly got mouthy, said her daddy owns property and she pays taxes. They spent 2 nights in holding. The booking photo? I wish I could frame it. She looked like a raccoon lost in a rave tent. But the coup de grace, the thing that made me believe in karma again, was Bob's final touch. He somehow got his hands on Kimberly's old wedding dress. The one she wore when she married me. The one she insisted we preserve in a sealed box like it was the Shroud of Turin. Bob took that dress. Strapped it to a plastic mannequin. Tied it to a stop sign in front of her parents' house. Then splashed it with red paint. Thick, violent streaks across the chest, down the lace, splattered like blood. Like a goddamn horror movie prop. It looked like someone had dragged a bride straight from the altar to a slaughterhouse. People took pictures. Local Facebook moms group exploded. Her mom had a breakdown. Her dad threatened legal action but had nothing to stand on. The wedding? Cancelled. Malik? Gone. Rumor is he dipped the night the flyers hit the block. Packed up while she was detoxing from jail coffee and shame. Didn't even leave a note. His Charger was seen crossing state lines before her second margarita that evening. I didn't attend the chaos. Didn't need to. But Bob sent me a photo. The mannequin. The paint. The note taped to the chest. You can steal a man's house, lie through your teeth, and choke on another man's cock, but you don't F***ck with a welder's pride. Some called it overkill. But me? I called it closure. People like Kimberly always think they're the phoenix in the story. Burn it all down, sleep with the ashes, and pretend it was self-care. She truly believed that if she just waited long enough, changed zip codes, and slapped a new man on her Instagram, the past would stay buried. Problem is, you can't outrun a reputation that prints in color. A year passed. Malik had ghosted, not just physically. Completely. Left town, wiped his socials, started fresh somewhere that didn't know what his dick looked like in 4K. Smart move. Not everyone has the stomach for eternal humiliation. Kimberly, however? She bounced back like a drunk raccoon on a trampoline. Bleached her hair. Changed her last name back. Joined a yoga studio. Lost a few Instagram followers but gained a new circle of suburban women who didn't know the real her, not yet. And then, like bad Wi-Fi, she reconnected. This time, with some soft-spoken middle management guy named Rick. A finance type. Button-ups and khakis. Probably thought he found a mature woman with a bit of baggage, not realizing the luggage was radioactive. Rick proposed after 6 months. She said yes. Posted a boomerang of the ring with a caption so sweet it could rot enamel. Second chances are God's greatest gift. Red heart. Rick didn't know. Not yet. But God must have sent that message straight to Big Bob. The wedding was set to be smaller this time. Intimate. Classy. Church reception. Garden brunch. Real, new life, new me vibes. She even invited her former pastor, the one who married us. Bold move. About 2 weeks before the ceremony, Kimberly had a bridal shower. Just the girls. Tea, champagne, cucumber sandwiches, all carefully curated for maximum Instagram clout. The next day, it began. Again. Photos. Videos. Same ones. But this time, they were sent directly to Rick's family. His mother got a manila envelope in her mailbox labeled, "Meet your new daughter-in-law." His co-workers got anonymous emails titled, "You should know who's marrying Rick." A flash drive showed up at the couple's gym. Left in a locker. The neighborhood where Kimberly had moved. Poles got flyers overnight, laminated this time, weather-resistant, new and improved. Her face. Malik's talent. Time-stamped. High def. Undeniable. Rick tried to pretend it didn't faze him. But it was written all over his face. The confusion. The shame. The "how the hell didn't I know this before" expression. Then came the final hit, a local prankster, who may or may not have been paid in beer, printed the wedding invites onto bumper stickers with the caption, "Come see the sequel to The Whore Awakens, now featuring Rick." They were slapped on stop signs, trash cans, and her bridal venue's front door. The wedding? Postponed. Then quietly cancelled. Rick? Blocked her on everything. Deleted their photos. Moved out while she was at work. She tried to spin it. Claimed it was a private disagreement, that he wasn't ready for marriage. But people talk. Screenshots live forever. And eventually, no amount of curated posts or filtered selfies can bury the stench of public disgrace. By the time the dust settled, Kimberly had gained 30 kilos, quit social media, and was seen working part-time at a highway diner off Route 9. She married a trucker named Dennis 6 months later, a man who sleeps in his rig more than his bed and smells like diesel, Red Man Chew, and regret. Dennis cheats. Everyone knows. Kimberly doesn't care. She's tired. Defeated. A cautionary tale that never gets told at bridal showers. I heard someone say recently, "What happened to that Kimberly chick? She used to be so hot." I didn't say anything. But inside? I smiled.
Bye-bye.